Desert Radio Podcasts.
Now, the conferring of honorary doctorates on many Namibians has sort of become the norms, right, in the halls of academia, some of which are coming from foreign nations even. Recently, we saw a political science lecturer, that's Dr. Amupanda, express concern about the pace at which ordinary Namibians are taking on the title of doctor without so much as having worked hard for it academically. Yet the conferring of honorary doctors is not a new thing. It's actually been lauded as a progressive approach to honor those that would have distinguished themselves in non-academic fields, right? But with rising concerns that anyone can be a doctor these days, should the system be continued or not, and what are the dangers of these qualifications? To break bread around this topic, we are joined by Dr Nepolo Mushaandja from the Namibia University of Science and Technology, as well as Dr Edson Tjirera from the University of Namibia. To you, Dr Mushaandja, very good morning.
Good morning, CJ. Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for making some time for us. Dr Tjirera, a very good morning to you. Pleasure to have you on the show again.
Good morning, CJ, and good morning to the listeners.
I'll start with you, Dr. Tjirera. Look, the both of you are qualified PhD holders, yourself and Dr. Mushaandja. You've put work behind that title. There's been a lot of sleepless nights academically, a lot of stress, I'm sure, as well. Does it bother you at all when somebody else is called a doctor for not putting in any academic effort at all?
Well, I wouldn't say that it bothers me personally, because I think there's a purpose for honorary doctorates. But then when that gets to a point where it is abused, then it becomes a problem.
So, if you read a bit around the issue of honorary doctorates, it speaks about, bestowing this particular, kind of honor on individuals who have made exceptional contributions to society or achieved remarkable success in their respective fields, being non-academic or otherwise. So the danger really becomes when you see the dishing out of honorary doctorates left, right, and center to people who have not particularly distinguished themselves. You realize that in Namibia, it seems like whoever has, some connection to the political elites, or someone who is distinguished in the economic sphere, it's like that is basically the license to get an honorary doctorate. And I think it is at that point where it bothers me. How does this person warrant to be given an honorary doctorate? How has he or she distinguished him or herself? Dr. Mushaandja will probably tell you that, PhD is no joke. We put in a lot of work, brain work, time, and it's really no joke. When you come out of a PhD and you come out with your sanity intact, then you are very lucky. So that's so much work that it takes. And so for it to just be dished left, right, and center becomes problematic. And then I think the other issue, CJ, is that these non-academic doctors tend to have this obsession with being referred to as doctors. And then you are like, you really didn't work for this. This is an honorary doctorate. And then you see the person is on TV at an event that has got nothing to do with the institution where he or she was bestowed this qualification, and he or she is parading this title. Then that's become problematic. I think people don't understand what an honorary doctorate should be. Look at someone like Thabo Mbeki. Thabo Mbeki has probably more than, 50 honorary doctorates. But you would never see him insisting to be referred to as doctor. And if you listen to him, he's a brain power. So you realize that this obsession with titles is to people who couldn't otherwise stand by themselves, as it were. I think I would leave it at that for now.
Very interesting points there indeed, Dr. Tjirera. I'll take my focus to you now, Dr. Mushaandja. From what we understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've worked quite closely with the committee.
Hello, CJ, I can't hear anything after this.
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, fantastic. Dr. Mushaandja, you can hear me as well?
Yes, CJ.
Great. Doc Mushaandja, perhaps just correct me if I'm wrong, but from what we understand, you've worked quite closely with a committee that accords these particular honorary doctorates. Just speak to us on who qualifies. What constitutes somebody to qualify to be conferred an honorary doctorate? What's the process of that?
Thank you so much, CJ, for the question. I need to clarify that whatever contribution I'm making now, I'm not speaking on behalf of NUST.
Indeed.
As an institution that employs me, but in my personal capacity as
Well noted.
Yes. So the question of who qualifies for an honorary degree is quite broad. But while it is broad, there are everywhere and for every institution, there are guidelines within the institution's policies that guides and directs and that outlines the qualities and the expectations of a specific candidate who will eventually be identified and then be, studied, and then a citation be written about this person, and then eventually Senate, for example, or for the highest decision-making body of an institution accepts the whole citation that is written, the whole research outcome that is gathered about that individual to say, we agree and we are stamping it that this person indeed bears what is necessary for an honorary degree by that specific institution. An honorary degree, as far as I know, an institution does not just get up and say, we are giving Teresia an honorary degree. Except in some years in Namibia where I saw a primary school giving an honorary degree to someone. But that was very interesting, but that was way back, and I think it was somehow put right. But an institution undertakes a rigorous, under normal circumstances, takes a rigorous process to really do research, to really gather data and information that is eventually crafted into what we call a citation, right? Now, a citation becomes, for example, a book. It's usually brought forth in the form of a booklet where you can read about that specific candidate. And it is usually read during the ceremony. But before we see what we see during ceremonies, a rigorous process is usually undertaken. Now, I fully understand the frustration of the colleagues in the nation at large. I was one also who once asked, because one of one of our leaders once, it was just Doctor Who, and my question was, hello, this one is also a doctor. And I was told, no, not only that one also. And I asked, but where can we get their citations? Can we get, what is it that is written about them? Where did they? No, they were given this in where were in some African countries and so forth. But it's all right. Can we just get a citation? Because even for us, for example, academic PhD holders, you have your dissertation that people can read. You have then the citation that is cited the day you are conferred, the day you graduate with your PhD. Of course, after a tedious process of, as Doctor said, if you came out sane, then you are really sane. So there is also a similar process. It's only that these honorary doctorates, these people who are honored in this manner, didn't go through writing a dissertation, but instead as it was supposed to be. These colleagues would have written their dissertations with their lives, with what they did, with how they lived, with the humanity they shared with other people, with their outstanding performance in a certain field. I think I should leave it there for now.
It's 8:39. We're in conversation this particular morning with two PhD holders, well-known lecturers. That's Dr Edson Tjirera as well as Dr Nepolo Mushaandja. We're speaking to them on this question, this concern that keeps on arising in Namibia. Can anyone just become a doctor these days? Dr. Tjirera, I'll take it back to you. You brought up a very interesting point towards the end of your contribution the first time around, and that was that the people, it looks like the trend is that the people that get honored as doctors demand that people call them doctors. Can they be referred to as doctors in any setting, or how does that work? How does the referral work?
I mean, as far as I have read around honorary doctorates, the practice should be that this particular person kind of assumes that particular title when he or she is at the institution that bestowed that upon her or him. That's as far as I understood. Otherwise, outside that context, you have no right whatsoever to use that title. And I don't know if there should be perhaps a kind of practice that allows one to see that this particular doctorate is honorary. You know, like where you have got, like in the military where a general is retired, they put that, RT in a bracket to indicate that this person is no longer a serving general. So perhaps, I don't know, probably we should move towards that. But otherwise, if you just see doctors all over the place, it denigrates the qualification. It doesn't inspire any confidence in the qualification. And again, the thing is, you have got this tendency of those who are non-academic doctors to insist that they are called doctors. They even, sign communique with the title. And then you realize that, people who really went through the process tend to be rather a bit, humble about the title. There is some kind of humility that I think a PhD should bring to you if you have done it, properly, if it was not written for you. And usually there is another, practice where like academic PhD holders, for example, will just say Edson Tjirera, and then you put a comma, you say PhD, just to indicate that I have got an academic qualification in the form of a PhD, but I do not necessarily insist that you should call me a doctor. So to me, it's this denigrating of the whole qualification. It's like, if you are a political who, then you become an honorary doctorate holder, just like that. And to me, that's what the problem is. It seems like political office in Namibia is a license to get a PhD, an honorary PhD, honorary doctorate, and that's tremendously problematic.
Is that a concern, Dr. Mushaandja, that it might water down the heaviness of the weight, rather, that a PhD actually carries, looking at the pace at which ordinary Namibians are taking on that title? Is that a concern for you as well?
CJ, I would answer that in two ways. It is and it is not really. One, we are currently confused one for the other. When people see Dr. Tjirera, they do not know whether he is an honorary doctor, or a PhD holder. And then that for me, yes, is somehow worrisome because a few people, like Dr. already alluded to it, a few people went through the rigorous real process, and then you have a whole place full of us doctors, and there is no distinction. is doctor, doctor the same way, doctor. And as doctor said, I think I learned that an honorary doctorate holder puts his or her doctoral title after his or her name, whereas for academic PhD holders would have it in front of their names. But who educates, who schools the nation about it? And it is really interestingly so that a lot of honorary doctorate holders, I don't know, maybe it of course it sounds very good to be called Dr. Ibet, but especially at one occasion, I'm not going to mention names, when a person takes a certain office and then it surfaces that all of a sudden a person is called doctor, just with the office the person is taking, without some of us having known that the person was conferred an honorary doctorate. Now, there are two things here. Some traces of the contributions that led to issuing of honorary doctorates to some of the colleagues can be traced, especially those that, for example, maybe UNAM issues, maybe the one that, IUM or NUST issues because we are within that space. But then you have 3-4 people, of course, because maybe they are politicians and they went somewhere and they get their honorary doctorates, and maybe there are 3 or 4 of them, and boom, we come back, we have 3 or 4 honorary doctors. We don't even call them, honorary doctorate holders. We call them doctors, doctor honorable, doctor madam, doctor pastor, doctor whoever. And it's really, it becomes a little bit of a challenge. However, on the other side, in terms of the space that we occupy, I somehow feel they are in their line of being honored for the lives they led, for the contributions they made. We are not honored, we are conferred qualifications because we are academically qualified to have those degrees, and therefore in our academic space, that's where we belong. In their honorary space, that's where they belong, and therefore in any way, I don't feel threatened by their existence because there is no way that we can compete. We are in 2 different lanes, except that the many titles are around.
As we saw on down our conversation, just in case you joined us, we talking about this question that Namibians keep on asking themselves on whether anyone can be referred to as a doctor these days, and we're breaking bread around this topic really with Dr Nepolo Mushaandja as well as Dr Edson Tjirera, and speaking on whether this is an issue or not, whether it's of concern or not. Perhaps just speaking to us, Dr. Tjirera, on the conversations you've had with fellow academics as well, on how they feel on this matter. What's the general consensus? But also, if there is a concern, are you asking of a limitation of some sort, to the space that we're seeing of honorary doctorates just being referred to, well, at this point, anyone?
Well, again, CJ, just as I prefaced my initial contributions, when I opened, the issue is that the qualification becomes denigrated, and you see when you have got people in your midst who have reached their academic pinnacle, people who are qualified at that level, you would want these people to inspire confidence in the qualifications, to rally others who are academically inclined to perhaps emulate them. But the general feeling, and I think as my colleague Dr. Amupanda put it in his provocation the other day, it appears that to get an honorary doctorate now is even cheaper than buying a beer, and I think that's problematic. So and I think it cannot continue. I mean, we should have of course people who have contributed exceptionally to whatever causes in society. They should be honored. There's no gainsaying about that. But this thing of dishing honorary doctorates like fat cakes is just not on. And again, I mean, it really make it appear as if those who have gone through this academic route have had it the easy way, which is not the case. So and this thing of politicians, some of them, I mean, look, I'm not trying to say you should necessarily be well educated to make a contribution, but you have got some people who doesn't even have a grade 12, because how our political space works. Mostly people who operate in that space, because we don't have standards in terms of what is the minimum requirement to be a political office holder. All kind of people enter that space, and then all of a sudden the person is called doctor, and you're like, what are you talking about?
That's what I'm asking, Doc. That's what I'm asking. Do we now create a limit for honorary doctors, especially those that don't have any academic qualification? Because like Dr. Mushaandja said, some of these people have contributed in other areas of life, whether it's in sports, whether it's in the human aspect, in the social aspect. The other contributions that, I mean, you can debate it or not, are perhaps equal to, an academic contribution or not, or even greater, doesn't really matter. But how do we find the balance then to also, I guess, confer respect of some sort, a status of some sort, elevate that person in society as well?
Yes, I think it's quite clear. I think the process has to be first rigorous. As my fellow doctor earlier said, there are all these issues of citation. We will get rid about how people arrived at conferring an honorary doctorate on this particular person. So I think the process has to be very rigorous, and it must also be transparent. I don't know how we will work around that, but I think we should come to a point where it gets clear, or it's very obvious that this particular person, the doctorate that they have is honorary. Usually, but when people write their CVs, you would see when they put doctorate, they would put in a bracket honoris causa, which is honorary doctorate. I don't know how we'll do it in everyday, kind of interaction when someone is on TV. So if I see Dr. Sarah Amandila, I shouldn't get a sense that she has a PhD that was, achieved academically, but it's honorary. So I don't know if there is anything that we can do in terms of next to that title. I don't know, you put something in the bracket to indicate that this person doesn't have an academic PhD. If we can make that distinction, probably we won't have all this kind of stuff. And probably the fact that you would have that, bracket next to it, it might not be, what is the word? It might not be that, for lack of a better phrasing, it might not be that prestigious anymore. So because people will say, oh, okay, this one is not an academic doctor. But of course, people do write their stories in other ways, and they contribute to society in various ways, and they should be honored for that. So in and of itself, I'm not against the practice. It's just how it is abused and how there is now no distinction between academic doctors or those who earn their PhDs academically and those who did not. So the issue then is, can the real PhD holders stand up? Can we say that in this kind of context? Thank you.
Dr. Mushaandja, your final contributions. Is there a solution to this at all? To number one, uphold the status of a PhD holder, of a PhD itself as an academic qualification, as an academic paper, as an academic title, but also to find the balance of giving status to somebody who's contributed largely to society without it stepping on the toes of those in a different space, particularly because of the pace at which it's being done.
Thanks, CJ, for the question. I just like Dr. Tjirera said, a regulation of some sort would help. But as I alluded to earlier, we can do only much with what is within our control. And what is outside our control is unfortunately hard to deal with. We have honorary doctorates that are conferred within the Namibian academic institutions. Those ones, and my suggestion would be all these citations should be in the libraries and in the on the public space, online, for example, where we can say Dr. Edson Mushaandja is conferred a doctorate, an honorary doctorate, so we can search up and read online, not only to be made available during the graduation or so. Secondly, the institutions themselves, should really make it apolitical. Even if we are funded by, the government, even if we are funded by who, even if we are friends to who, we must really be honest in how we issue degrees of this sort. And I assure you we can count. UNAM can go in its database and tell us we have issued or we have given how many honorary degrees. And then NUST will go into its database, IUM the same, and any other university that offers qualifications at par with PhDs. And we say, no, for now I think we have about 15 honorary degree holders in Namibia. However, what we can't control is people who are honored elsewhere, and we might not be in a position to demand citations, to demand to know, but how did this person get an honorary and all that? But also to say, maybe is that we start speaking about some issues that might not be pleasant to speak about, so as to say, let's maybe, if it is becoming a little bit muddy in this space, let's try to see what we can do to sift the water. How do we distinct between, these two type of similar title holders? Because I fully understand the frustration of the colleagues who feel no men. We have worked for this, and these people are given it. And sometimes you also understand when people say, but where is the merit in that case? And where is the merit in that case? But how did this one also get? Some cases are outstanding, like my colleague here spoke about Tambobeki. You can see and you can count, you go into space online, everywhere you will see how he spearheaded the Black Renaissance and all that. But then, even in our space here, you see people like maybe, I don't want to mention names so that I'm cited to say, you said this, that means you mean the other one is not so.
Well, I guess to take away the miscommunication and the confusion that everyone else might have, PhD holder Edson Tjirera and PhD holder Dr Nepolo Mushaandja, doctors to the both of you, thank you so much for making some time for us this morning. It's a debate I'm sure will keep on raging on in the Namibian public domain, but it's one I'm glad we had. And perhaps we will see if university management, and we did try to reach out to, I must note, we tried to reach out to management from both universities in the country to just explain to us and speak to us on that. But perhaps it will reach there, and perhaps there will be another development from this discussion. But I thank the both of you for making some time for us this morning.
Thank you, CJ. Thank you, Dr. Tjirera.
Thanks, CJ. And have a great day ahead.
Indeed. Cheers.
Sure.
Desert Radio Podcasts.